Hi there, in this video we're going to learn how to use perspective warp to do this. See all the weird lines heading off in all sorts of directions? Ready, presto. He's all straight. That's one of the typical uses for perspective warp. Another use though is this. This is my original container, but I need to turn it a different direction. Imagine if you could go back in time and move it around. Cool, huh? That is the perspective warp tool in Adobe Photoshop. Let's go and learn how to use it now. All right, these two files are going to be perspective warp 1 and 2, not crop, though we're going to be doing kind of a similar thing. So let's start with perspective warp 1. And in this case, the lens, to get this shot with all the background, you can see it's kind of distorted, the lines here, so nothing's really straight. So this is a perfect option for edit, perspective warp. Now to be fancy, okay, we should convert it into a smart object first, then we can turn that effect on and off later. So edit, perspective warp, and what you do is you just click once anywhere. That gives you your first kind of plane. Just drag the corners so you're kind of covering exactly covering one face of the church. Okay, I'm just dragging this around. And the way I'm kind of lining it up is, obviously there's a clear line down the bottom here in the dirt. But then there's this other rule of thirds here. So I'm dragging that around because I really want, can you see there? Now, I feel like that's a straight line or a straight plane across it. I want to get the cross in. So just mess about it until you feel like these lines all align with, you can see that one there aligns with the roof line there. Now we want this other plane over here. Easiest way again is just to click once over here and just drawing these up. You join the first one up and it just snaps to it. Then spend a bit of time lining that up. The same thing, I want to, it's easy to line this bottom one up. Now I want to make sure that this guide here kind of aligns with the roof, and that should give me some sort of shape. And basically it just tells Photoshop what the two planes we're dealing with. So there's two phases. There's layout, which we just did, and then you move to warp. And this is where the magic happens. What I want to do is I want to say all these lines, I want you to be straight up and down. Cool, huh? Now it works really good with just boxes. But because this is a church and there's a pitched roof and there's a little bit of weirdness going on here, I'm just going to fudge it by lifting this up a bit. You can see I can kind of really manipulate real life. Like I've turned this thing around. When you're finished, either click the tick or hit return. And let's turn the smart filter on and off. Cool, huh? Let's look at another example. Okay, this container here could be the most perfect example of this because it's nice and square. Things aren't square, things can get a little weird, and also so you know, if there's a person standing in front of this, they're going to get distorted and it's not going to be that realistic. So there's kind of like a perfect storm that needs to happen for this tool to be amazing, but it's definitely good enough. But when the example is right, this tool is pretty amazing. Watch this. So here we go, here we go. Okay, so that's my first plane. I should be more perfect with it. You can click once and then just drag them into it. Another little trick is click and drag and just get it close. You'll see those two lines get highlighted and it will snap to it. So here we go, my friend. Here we go, my friend. So instead of just straightening it up, which is not what I want to do now, it is nice and straight. What I want to do is try and turn it around. So I'm going to switch from layout to warp. What I can do is a little trick is I can hold down shift and click on this line here. You can see it kind of locks that into my straight up and down plane. And it means whenever I drag one of these, can you see the top one comes along for the right as well? And you can see, I can kind of turn this thing around. Grab you. There's a little bit of like tongue out. How is this looking? But you can see, I can kind of make it look like the container was actually facing the other way when it was photographed. How good is that? I forgot to turn it into a smart object, so I'm going to click return on my keyboard. You saw it there, ready? The whole thing's turned around. I'm going to use my undo. That way, that way, that way, that way. Cool, huh? Let's jump back to this one here and finish it up because I want to fill this with content aware fill, okay? But I can't because it's a smart object. So I'm gonna have to destroy all my good work. I'm gonna right click it. I'm gonna go to this one that says rasterize layer, gets rid of all my hard work. But now I'm gonna use my rectangle marquee tool just to draw a couple of quick boxes, holding shift key to add to the selection. I should use the lasso tool, being lazy. You've seen this before anyway. Let's go to edit, let's go to fill, content aware fill, Love it. Nature, it does so well with nature, right? Content aware fill just kind of like magics it up. Been teaching this for ages and I'm still super impressed. All right, that is perspective warp. One thing before I go, it can be really good for internal shots as well. So if you've got, say, the internal view of a house or a room, it can be a nice way of straightening up the walls. If like this image, they've been distorted, but as soon as you add like big objects in the middle of the room, or especially people or recognizable objects that can't look kind of smeared, like these windows smear just fine. They can be changed angles and they're fine. But if there was a person and they were slightly wider than they were meant to be, it just doesn't work. So keep it in your toolkit for those times that you need it, quick and easy to use, but it doesn't work perfect every time. Let's get on to the next video.